We recognize that the Mount Diablo Unified School District sits on the territory of the Confederated Villages of Lishan, the ancestral and unceded land of the Bay Miwok and Northern Yokut, the successors of the sovereign Verona Band of Contra Costa County. As members of the MDUSD community, it is vitally important that we not only recognize the history of the land on which we learn, but also we recognize that the land we inhabit and learn on is the ancestral land of these people who are alive and flourishing members of MDUSD and broader Bay Area communities today. You can rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. 6.2, review and potential approval of minutes for our regular board meeting.
Madam President, I move to approve the minutes to the board meeting, April 12th.
Trustee Nava Flores,
Yes.
and that passes unanimously. 6.3, review and potential review of the agenda.
No changes, Madam President.
Anyone else have any changes? All right, so
Madam Chair, I would make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Trustee Nava Flores,
Yes.
and that passes unanimously. So report out on closed session. 7.1, negotiations. The board may discuss negotiations or provide direction to its representatives regarding represented employees pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6, and we received information. Discipline. 7.2, discipline, dismissal, release, or reassignment of public employee. Government Code Section 54957B1. In closed session, by a vote of 5-0 with 0 abstentions, the board took action to approve the resignation of 1 teacher per an agreement. And 7.3, admission of student C23 to regular schools in the Mount Diablo Unified School District. We move to approve the admission of student C23 to regular schools in the Mount Diablo Unified School District. Prior to admission, C23 is required to meet the following conditions: participate in 20 hours of individual counseling to address anger management, decision-making, and show evidence of a successful school experience with no suspendable infractions, maintain at least a 2.0 GPA, and have a 90% attendance rate. Upon a roll call vote being taken, the vote was 5 and 0 no's, and the motion carried 5-0. And we'll move on to 8.0, public comment. All right. Carl Boger. Everyone, oh, it's 1, 2. Everyone will have 3 minutes, and I beg you to stop talking. Around the 3 minutes, we'll give you a little grace, but show us a little grace so we don't have to say, please stop. So welcome.
Good evening, board. I'm sorry to report to you that Clayton Valley High School's awards, both academic and sports awards, were left on campus for some reason when the charter took over, and they're now gone. So upwards of over 200 different awards, the athletes of the year awards that were perpetuals, gone. The students of the, valedictorians or Altair, pardon me. I was a jock. So the smart folks ones, and their names are all on them every year from 1958 through to when the charter began in 2012, gone. For one reason, they're not the charter. They have no respect for anything other than they, which is sick. You actually were just proving how important history is by talking about the Miwok Indians who were here before us. So in 1977, Clayton Valley had the actual one of the first, and there's only been two in Northern California, state championship wrestling teams. Highly unlikely we'll ever have another. Clayton Valley's cross-country girls team was a state champion. They're gone. And here's the best part. When you go to talk to them, and this started in 2016, they accidentally lost everything between 2016 and 2020. They didn't learn from the first time that the state trophy went missing early, somewhere in 2016, was being looked for in 2017 and was already known to be gone. When I asked about it personally in 2018, I was told, well, there's two other storage sites off site that we need to go look at. Never got an answer. Never got an answer. February of 2023, I finally got a bloody answer. Well, Carl, just wrap your head around it. They're gone. Charter's answer is, no, we will not investigate. No, we're not going to go look for them any further. They're gone. Wrap your head around it, Carl. They're gone. Why? Why is Charter being allowed to do this? My questions go to you as the board. As their Charter, even as your renter, did they even inform you that your property that you're responsible for is missing? You're their landlord. It wasn't theirs to destroy. Was it? Did the Mount Diablo Unified School District give them the trophies? I don't believe so. So my question to you is, one, I don't know how to proceed further. They have literally said, we're done. I'm going to the board meetings. I have a conversation like this with them once a month. We've been there twice now, 0 answers. So now the question is, how can I please get some assistance from the Unified School District to proceed with this? Because I'm not stopping. Is there any hope of getting someone who can contact me, please?
Thank you. Adriel Yule. Adriel Yule. You go in the order that you turned in your card.
Okay, somebody turned theirs in before me, but that's okay. So this will be out of order a little bit, but I'm Adrielle. I'm here from Holbrook Language Academy. My cohort, Jennifer Silvestri, will be presenting the petition for our school, the removal of our principal, the request for removal, I should say. She has all the details, and so I'm just here as backup and to kind of show we're here. We like to be involved in our community, and we see some issues that need to be addressed. And we have lots of signatures and people that are really concerned about the direction of the school, and that it's really kind of boils down to the principal. So that's kind of all I have to say, and she'll have her 3 minutes later. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer Silvestri.
I have a copy of the petition, the full context, if anybody wants it. Can I leave it with somebody? I have a copy for each. Okay, so the families, community members, and interested parties at Holbrook have circulated a petition that you now have to remove our current principal prior to the commencement of next year. The petition currently has 164 signatures. The names will not be shared at this time. Whew, sorry. Our petition has many, but not all of the ways that our principal has failed our school. She has failed in the following ways. She is failing to have our campus maintained in a sanitary condition. She is failing to notify parents of ongoing issues with the HVAC. She is failing to ensure safety protocols are followed at school pickup and drop off. She is failing to notify parents when a physical altercation happened at school and students were injured. She is failing to adequately address students that perpetually bully other students. She is failing to address parents who parents who present safety risks to students on campus. She is failing to secure long-term substitute teachers who are able to support our bilingual learning. She's failing to implement IEP and 503 plans in a timely manner, failing to provide adequate drug and alcohol safety training during Red Ribbon Week, failing to provide timely agendas or minutes for our school site council meetings, failing to fulfill her assurance that the dress code would be updated by March 2023. She has made multiple involuntary teaching assignment changes. A number of our teachers are now leaving our school. She fails to address concerns raised by parents and guardians in a timely manner, if at all. She's creating a hostile work environment for the school staff by using unwelcoming and demeaning language towards them, and this happens in front of parents. While we understand that some of these issues are out of the principal's control and that she cannot fix them alone, parents expect to be communicated with regarding the health and safety of their children. All parents should have that reasonable expectation from any school their children attend. More importantly, the principal's ongoing failure to prioritize student safety places our children at risk of harm and unquestionably exposes the district to possible litigation. Parents have voiced their concerns directly to the principal, but their concerns have largely been ignored. I come here today to ask that the district do the right thing for our families and students. Even though we know it is disruptive to remove a principal, we need a strong leader that embodies the values and culture of Holbrook. Our principal has not proven herself to be that person. Our school needs a principal that will communicate with the parents, provide support and leadership to our students and staff, provide a safe and clean learning environment for our children, and advocate for our dual immersion program.
Thank
That's fine,
you. Dave Hughes.
April 26th, 2023, and you're dialed to 90.5 KVHS for the Mount Diablo Unified School District Board meeting. We got a great agenda for you tonight. Lots of different interesting topics to discuss and points to be made and possibly decisions to be had. We're to kick things off with some public comment. This particular comment comes from yours truly, Dave Hughes, host of the local music program. The Beat of Diablo airs Sunday nights at 7 o'clock, playing music of all genres from in and around Concord Rock City. Tonight, I've got something a little different for you folks at home listening, but for you here in the room with me, it's an oldie but goodie, a tried but true. I guess you can call it a cover. Been done so many times, presented in so many different ways and so many iterations. I'm speaking, of course, of the very familiar request to help us help you from the Save KVHS community group. That's right, formed in August of last year upon hearing that the station was for sale. The Save KVHS community group is comprised of station volunteers like myself, radio broadcasting experts, KVHS alumni, and station founder Ernie Wilson himself. All of us came together to offer our help to this body to ensure that KVHS remains on the air and steers clear of any undesirable fate determined by ill-informed decision-making. That started with the group's first hit going back to August of last year, their debut performance here in this venue of the classic, Please Don't Sell to K-Love. It was a catchy number that most folks in the community seemed to connect with, and definitely folks on this board. In no time, everyone was singing along, Please Don't Sell to K-Love. The KVHS community group was back 1 month later with the follow-up, Thank You for Not Selling to K-Love, and the less popular single, Maybe Don't Sell at All. Initially met with mixed reviews, it was concluded that that one was ahead of its time. The venue had invited the group back for a primetime performance in December of their presentation of tower removal and equipment relocation. In that presentation, it was made clear that there is no logical reason for KVHS to be caught in any legal battle going on between this district and Clayton Valley Charter High School. The small amount of functioning broadcasting equipment currently on campus does not need to be there, can and should be transferred to TV Hill, where the station actually broadcasts from, and can be done so in a matter of hours with minimal to no station interruption and no cost to the district. The board understood, agreed, and instructed staff to work with us in the future of KVHS, starting with the relocation of the equipment as described. We're ready to do this when you're ready to have us. Please respond to the email we sent to you last week at your earliest convenience, and we'll move forward together in making this happen. This has been Public Comment with Dave Hughes on 90.5 KVHS. Thanks for listening. Take care of each other.
Thank you.
That's it.
Joe Novo. Joe.
Good evening, board. My public comment is going to pretty much align with Ms. Silvestri, what she mentioned earlier today. You might remember me as a familiar face. I was before you on November 1st of last year as I was appointed as a custodial and operations coordinator. On February 28th, I was terminated as a custodial and operations coordinator, only after 4 months on the job. The reason why I was given that I was terminated was that I didn't pass probation. But the real reason I was terminated because I was shining a light on the incompetence of the maintenance and operations management, specifically Melanie Coslow and David Hart. Parents should be extremely concerned about their child's safety and learning environment. There's rampant major rat infestations in our schools, major cockroach infestations in our schools. There's no heat or air conditioning in our classrooms. There are cockroaches and rats on work surfaces in our kitchens. And we're not talking about just one kitchen. We're talking about multiple sites. There are drunk custodians on site, probably as we speak, some that have been battered and abused with black eyes, still showing up for work. Our children deserve better than what this management team of maintenance and operations is giving. The custodians are also mopping classrooms and kitchens and restrooms with dirty mops. They're going from a restroom into the kitchen with dirty mops. There has not been mop service for over a year that I unveiled in 5 locations, all the Bay Point locations. I sent you an email outlining in detail what has been going on in that department. I'm only allowed 3 minutes, don't have that much time, so I'm going to keep going on with what I do have. Custodians also have become aggressively insubordinate when bringing up the issues at the schools when addressing their poor performance. This has all been reported to maintenance and operations, specifically Melanie Coslow and David Hart by me. Not to mention the toxic work environment where I was harassed due to my sexual orientation and age. All these issues were brought to management's attention, but instead of supporting me, they terminated me. Melanie Coslow and David Hart, they're not interested in raising the standard of safety and cleanliness for the children at our district. They're only interested in collecting a paycheck and for no one to rock the boat. This board has now been put on notice. Let's see if this board will act and make the right decision to protect the children
Thank you.
by removing the dead management weight in the M&O department.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Chris Pallets. Pallets. There we go. Thank you. Oh, we're good.
Thank you. My child goes to Strandwood Elementary, and I disagree with you removing our principal, Dr. Sherry Scripter. This action was surprising and cold and callous, and she doesn't know why, and nobody knows why, and the board won't explain why. she's been with Strandwood at least 6 years. She's been instrumental in my child's child being there and having been being transferred from Gregory Gardens, where there has been physical fights going on at that school. And she has been great. We love our principal. I guess it's written somewhere where you don't have to have a reason to replace her and you can do it. And my question is, should you? I mean, it'd be nice for you to talk to us, the parents, about like what your plan is, like to take somebody out that's been helping our community and is a central part of our community. And yeah, I'd wish you'd come talk to us. You can come to a PTA meeting, or we can talk to you. There's a lot of our last PTA meeting that you came to was filled. There was like 100 people there. It was one of the first PTA meetings I've been to, but like the place was there because our principal is leaving and you were going to be there. And I talked to you after, and because I heard they said you weren't taking any questions, but lots of people have questions. It's like, I mean, she hasn't done anything heinous or terrible. Why can't you tell us? It's important. These are our kids. It doesn't get much more personal, not even emotional. I mean, these are our kids. It's our community. And I think you came to our school because you got some emails from parents that are upset. And so you can see, and I was, yeah, it'd be great for you to speak with us about it. Just reassess. Please meet with us and reconsider your decision to remove our principal. There doesn't seem to be any transparency about it. And if there's a problem, our community will rise up to the whatever it is and fix it. But like, you're not talking to us, and it hurts. It sucks because these are our kids, and like, it's just like you're telling us this is what we're doing. We don't have to explain it, and it's suspect. You know, when you're getting like a wall. I mean, if it's like not a privacy issue. I mean, I understand if there's a privacy issue, you know, I of course respect that, but
Thank you.
I ask you to reassess and reconsider. Thank you.
you. Jessica Modier. No.
Good evening. Studies have consistently shown that smaller class sizes lead to better academic outcomes for students. For instance, a study conducted by the National Center for Education Statistics found that students in smaller classes outperformed their peers in larger classes on standardized tests. Another study from the University of Tennessee found that students in smaller classes had higher test scores, better attendance, and fewer disciplinary problems. The study also revealed that smaller classes outperformed reading and math by 9 percentile points and 12 percentile points for low-income students. Additionally, students in smaller size classes had a 10% more likelihood to pursue higher education. It is important to consider the statistics and comparisons from other countries such as France, Singapore, China, and Finland, which have stronger education systems. All these countries have capped their middle school classroom sizes to below 24 students, and this has contributed to their success in education. But it's not just test scores that improve with smaller class sizes. Students in smaller classes also have more opportunities for individualized attention from their teachers. They are able to ask questions, receive feedback, and engage in discussions more easily. This personalized attention leads to increased confidence, motivation, and a love for learning. I can speak to this from personal experience. When I was in 6th grade, I had a teacher named Miss Johnson. Although she was an amazing teacher, she had over 30 students to manage. Despite her best efforts, she simply could not give each of us the attention we deserve.
There were times when I struggled with the concept or needed extra help, but Miss Johnson was always so busy managing the class that she couldn't give me the one-on-one support I needed. As the year went on, I began to lose my love for learning. I felt lost and unsupported, and I started to believe that I wasn't smart enough to succeed. It wasn't until I switched to a private school and found myself in a smaller class with a more individualized approach that I rediscovered my love for learning. I urge the school board to consider these statistics and personal stories as they make decisions about the class sizes, as their decision will impact where our future kids' education will lie. By reducing class sizes, we give our students the attention and support they need to thrive academically and personally. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Cora Mitchell. Cora. Sorry.
Good evening. I want to start by saying I really hope that you will start having these meetings again on Zoom so that I don't have to worry about bringing my kids to hear about the things that are happening in this district because it's pretty unpleasant. I have spoken to this board several times about the conditions that have been created by the staffing model by this administration, and it's been signed off on by this board that it was going to lead to an increase in violence incidents on our campuses. Yesterday, a 15-year-old girl was stabbed in the face at Northgate High School. Do I have your attention now? I've been talking about this to you. Actually, it's been a couple years now, warning you that this was coming and that it's going to get worse. What is it going to take to have this district take responsibility for the things that it can? I've heard you say what you expect the community to do, but I want to know what this district is going to do. We saw the slides about suspension rates. That's not really the answer. When you made decisions to cut librarians, when you made decisions to increase class sizes, I asked at that time what research is being used to determine these cuts so that we can minimize the harm for the most number of students possible. And I was refused an answer. Well, I'm mad now. Kids are being physically harmed. That should be the lowest baseline, is to keep children safe. I'm not even talking about academic achievement anymore. I'm talking about basic safety. I know very few parents who feel comfortable sending their kids to school beyond elementary in this district. There's something wrong. And nobody is taking accountability for your part, because you do have a part. Yes, we are a community, but what is your role? And what is your responsibility to look back on the decisions that have been made and change course to say what we have done has aided in this happening? I don't know all the details about what happened yesterday, but I'm telling you again, similar incidents are going to happen again. I've told you what my credentials are. I'm an expert on the topic. It's going to continue to happen. What is it going to be next time? A gun? Does a student have to die before this board stands up and says, we need to do something drastic? Go back and look at all these programs that you're putting site specific and say, are they working? Where is the research? How much are we spending and what is the return? Can we refunnel those money into other things that have been proven to reduce these types of incidents, like class sizes, believe it or not, librarians? These kinds of things instill a sense of self-worth in children. Music, arts, sports, all the stuff that has been considered to be frivolous are so important in child development. It starts at elementary and it ends for you guys at high school. But how many of these kids are going to have to get hurt before you say we're going to do something else because this isn't working? Thank you.
Communications. District organizations at regular board meetings, a single spokesperson of each recognized district organization may make a brief presentation. Items are limited to those which are informational. Anita Johnson.
Good evening. I'm Anita Johnson, president of Mount Diablo Education Association. My pronouns are she and her. I would like to take this opportunity to invite everyone to our Awards of Excellence event on May 11th at 6 p.m. at Center Concord. At the event, we will honor all the people in our community whose efforts support our students. While the event honors everyone, we will highlight the contributions of selected individuals in 11 different categories. We'd like to thank the district for their generous support of this event. Everyone can order tickets by visiting our website, ourmedea.org. We hope you can join us. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, 10.0 on to recognitions and resolutions. We will start with 10.1, review and potential approval of Resolution 222351, Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month.
In recognition of May as Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, whereas the U.S. Census Bureau reports over 23 distinct Asian American and over 19 distinct NHPI, which is Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander ethnic groups, including Asian Indian, Bengali, Burmese, Cambodian, Chinese, Filipino, Guamanian, Hawaiian, Hmong, Indonesian, Japanese, Korean, Lao, Malayan, Okinawan, Pakistani, Samoan, Thai, Vietnamese, and others. And whereas in the Mount Diablo Unified School District, 11.8% in 22-23 of the student populations are identified as Asian, Filipino, or Pacific Islander, the third highest demographic. Yet studies have found that the academic needs of Asian American and Pacific Islander students are frequently overlooked. Now, therefore, be it resolved by this governing board of the Mount Diablo Unified School District that the month of May is designated as Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month and calls for all schools to commemorate this occasion accordingly with appropriate instructional materials, discussions, presentations, and projects. Be it further resolved that this executed resolution be distributed to all schools within MDUSD. Madam President, this item is now in the hands of the board.
Thank you.
I want to start off by also recognizing May as Asian American, Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Month, and provide this encouragement to all our schools in our school district from the elementary school level all the way up to the continuations and high school level to honor and celebrate this month by expanding our learning curriculum and to diversify it with an aspect of inclusion and adequate representation. And of course, honor all of our members in our community and continue to empower them. Thank you.
Thank you. May I give a motion?
Madam President, I motion to approve the review and potential approval of Resolution 22/23, Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month.
Second?
Trustee Nava Flores?
Yes.
And that passes unanimously. 10.2, review and potential approval of Resolution 222352, California Day of the Teacher and National Teacher Appreciation Week.
Recognition of California Day of the Teacher, May 10th, 2023, and National Teacher Appreciation Week, May 8th through May 12th. And that appears to be when the Medea Awards will take place on May 11th. So that's a very timely recognition evening that will be. Whereas May 10th, 2023 is California Day of the Teacher and the week of May 8th through the 12th as National Teacher Appreciation Week. And whereas the governing board of the Mount Diablo Unified School District wishes to express its appreciation to our teachers for their creativity, dedication, and talent. And whereas the Mount Diablo Unified School District teachers can have a lifelong influence on students of the Mount Diablo Unified School District. Now, therefore, the governing board of the Mount Diablo Unified School District hereby recognizes May 10th, 2023 as Day of the Teacher and May 8th through the 12th, 2023 as National Teacher Appreciation Week. And be it further resolved that all students, parents, and school districts and employees are encouraged to participate in observance and express and show appreciation to the instructional staff at schools throughout the Mount Diablo Unified School District. Madam President, this item is now in the hands of the board.
Thank you. I think
Bless
our
you.
teacher should.
We'll let our
Alright.
teacher do this one.
Sure. I will move to adopt resolution 22/2352, California Day of the Teacher and National Teacher Appreciation Week.
Second.
Trustee Nava Flores.
Yes. And thank you to Medea for hosting the upcoming event on May 11th. We're really looking forward to it in cooperation with the school district.
And it passes unanimously. Thank you. 10.3, review and potential approval of resolution 2223-53, recognizing May as Jewish American Heritage Month.
Yes, so whereas the National Jewish American Heritage Month celebrates and recognizes Jewish contributions to American culture, history, military, science, government, education, and all areas of American life. And whereas on April 20th, 2006, the federal government proclaimed that May would be Jewish American Heritage Month, stating, as a nation of immigrants, the United States is better and stronger because Jewish people from all over the world have chosen to become American citizens. Since arriving in 1654, Jewish Americans have achieved great success, strengthened our country, and helped shape our way of life. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the governing board of the Mount Diablo Unified School District hereby recognizes May as Jewish American Heritage Month and supports opportunities for all students, staff, faculty, and members of the public to honor and learn more about Jewish American culture. Madam President, this item is now in the hands of the board.
I would like to thank the Jewish Community Relations Council for their assistance in creation of what is now becoming an annual resolution in this school district, and to refer educators and families to the resources that are listed in the resolution, including jcrc.org. There are wonderful resources that can be used to educate people and to try to reduce the amount of anti-Semitism that we're seeing throughout our country, our communities, and even in our schools. So it's more important than ever for us to be recognizing and educating everyone on these issues. And so I would like to move to adopt Resolution 2223-53, recognizing May as Jewish American Heritage Month.
Second.
Trustee Nava Flores.
Yes.
And that passes unanimously. And finally, 10.4, review and potential approval for resolution 2223-54 in recognition of School Lunch Hero Day.
Great, thank you. This is our last resolution of the evening, and just want to recognize School Lunch Hero Day, whereas nutritious meals at school are an essential part of the school day, and whereas the staff of Mount Diablo Unified School District Food and Nutrition Services are committed to providing healthy, nutritious meals to the district's children. And now therefore be it resolved that the Mount Diablo Unified School District's governing board expresses deep appreciation to these valuable employees and commends their good work on behalf of children and encourages all to celebrate nutrition professionals and their one-of-a-kind superpowers. So, Madam President, this is now in the hands of the board.
Thank you.
Madam President, I move that the board approve Resolution 22/2354 in recognition of School Lunch Hero Day.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Trustee Nava Flores.
Yes.
And that too passes unanimously. We have quite an active month of May. It's pretty cool and exciting. Lots of things to learn and lots of things to acknowledge and not just let it die here with our resolutions. So I hope we really take all of these to heart as usual and take action. 11.0, public employee appointments. 11.1, review and potential approval of certified personnel appointment, elementary vice principal.
Yep. And we have Dr. Scudero here to present this item to the board.
This is one of those appointments where the district is anticipating future openings, and so we are getting the best candidates we possibly can. The Human Resources Department is bringing for the board's review and potential approval the appointment of Madison Benz as the elementary vice principal with a site to be determined. Madison has taught for 7 years in different elementary school sites and has extensive leadership experience and is also the equity representative at her current site. Madison holds a bachelor's degree in liberal studies and a master's degree in educational leadership. Madison lives in Walnut Creek with her fiance and their English bulldog. Madison enjoys spending time outside hiking, golfing, and playing tennis. With that, I leave this appointment in the hands of the board.
Thank you.
Madam President, I move to approve Madison Benz as elementary vice principal.
Second.
Trustee Nava Flores.
Yes.
There we go.
Congratulations.
Come say a few
Would you like
words.
to say anything to us? We're not scary.
Hi, I'm Madison. I just want to say thank you so much for the approval. I'm excited to be an elementary vice principal for the Mount Diablo Unified School District for the 23-24 school year. I'm excited to meet members of the Mount Diablo community and work in a community whose values align with my own. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Welcome. And what everyone in the audience has been waiting for, and then they will leave and we will be all by our lonesome. 12.1, presentation in support of maintaining Concord High School mascot. Presentation info.
Yes, Madam President, several years ago, the students, staff at Concord High started to talk about going with the mascot change that was more reflective of the students who attend Concord High School, and where students have a more connection and more pride around the mascot. And there was also some questions around around having a militia person as the mascot who's holding a rifle. And so we went down this road last year. We had a change in leadership there, and we asked the principal at the beginning of the year to talk to her students and see how the students felt and if they still wanted to continue with this process. We had something went out to the community, and the principal held a community meeting. And at the next board meeting, we had several members from the public come out to express their opposition to a mascot change. They asked for an opportunity to come and formally present their reasons for wanting to maintain the mascot. And so we reached out to them and asked them to come and present to the board. So I don't know who the spokesperson is for the group.
Before you continue, and we also passed a board policy around mascots.
Yes, and there was a resolution back
21
last year, the year before, around as we were going through, just so everyone knows, for the record, the state of California has a law, basically, when it comes to schools, that we cannot name schools after Native Americans. And so we had a Native American mascot over at Ignacio Valley. And then even after mascot was changed, we still had we still had remnants of Native American heritage as a mascot. And so this board passed a resolution that we would move away from humans as being the mascot. And there's some other details to that resolution, but do want to give the group an opportunity. We got about 10 or 15 minutes and we'll go from there.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm Mark Lloyd. I'm a Minuteman. I want to thank you, Dr. Clark, and the representative board to allowing us to do this. We don't have a presentation per se, but we have 8 individuals that would like to speak. And we'll try to keep it as brief as possible. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Julie Lister and I'm a Minuteman. I'm appealing to you to consider allowing Concord High to retain its mascot of the Minutemen. CHS students were led to believe that changing the mascot is mandatory. That's not exactly true. The resolution states, and if necessary, schools shall choose a non-human. I don't believe that's necessary. The students were never given the opportunity to keep the Minutemen and possibly update their existing mascot to be more welcoming and inclusive. Remove the musket, add a woman beside the man. There were women Minutemen. There were African-American Minutemen. Unlike Ignacio Valley, there has not been a visible support or group of students on campus pushing the change. To the contrary, the majority of the students are confused as to why the change is necessary. The vote on the mascot selection did not allow for a write-in to choose the Minuteman. Only 500 students out of 1,180 even participated in voting on the mascot selection, not even close to a simple majority vote of 601. This shows a severe lack of support for the mascot change. Had this meeting not been on CHS's open house, you would have saw more students who support the Minutemen. The bear was picked by only 191 votes. If the root cause is to make changes to our school to attract greater attendance, wouldn't those funds be better spent beautifying our school, landscaping, a snack shack restroom facility to accommodate athletic events, aesthetic improvements to the school structure itself? I don't see that moving to a non-human is always the right step. If that action was taken in our surrounding areas, you would see schools in Pittsburgh, Hayward, and Davis removing Martin Luther King from their title. That would truly be a sad day. Some history is deserving of our honor and our respect. Thank you so much.
Good evening. My name is Ashley Barrows, and I am extremely proud to identify as a Minuteman. What's wrong with having a mentor? School Board Resolution 2021-80 mandates a safe and welcoming environment, and only if necessary, change to a non-human mascot. I say that this safe and welcoming environment already exists. When talking with students, I heard more than once, I want to keep the Minutemen, but they say some are offended, so I guess we should change. I asked them, who are the some? Do you know any of the some? How many are the some? To which they had no answer. Who exactly is offended and how many of them are there? I say, show me the some. The Minutemen were the first responders of their time. They were dedicated to defending everyone in their community. I asked students that if they could not identify as a Minuteman because they identified as some other, could they at least believe that if we had Minutemen on campus today, that the Minutemen would defend their right to be other? To which they responded, yes. The Minuteman is a mascot that can represent everyone and make them all feel safe and welcome. Please use these monies earmarked for the mascot rebranding for beneficial and inclusive, safe changes, not decisive ones. Thank you.
Good evening, board. I had a big speech. I was going to be very persuasive. But listening to the other folks speak about the lack of funds that the school district has allocated to go other places, what a waste of money. Being a band booster, knowing how much it's going to cost for you guys to replace our uniforms, thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you take that and spread that across every facet in Concord High. My daughter's also on the swim team. We do not have a pool. Every other school district has, or every other high school has it. We have to walk across the street and share a pool, but yet you can't find the money to do that, but you're willing to pony up the money to rebrand our school. Boo, wrong. That money needs to go somewhere else. Take the musket away, put a beautiful woman standing next to him, because they said there were women on that field. I'm a son of the Revolution. My great-grandparents, great families fought in the war, and they would be appalled at the fact that we are losing our heritage of something that meant something so much, to be there on the field and stand up for what we believe in. You take that away, all we're doing is just telling our children now, history does not matter.
Hi, my name is Lynette Dashner, and I'm a 1987 graduate of Concord High, and I am a Minuteman as well. I wanted to start by saying the word Minutemen does not at all imply that a male population of students anymore is represented than those who identify otherwise, in the same way that the word mankind represents all human race and not just men. As everyone here has stated, the band already on our trailers has a profile of a woman as well. So it is inclusive. Take away the musket. Everyone agrees the muskets shouldn't be there. The musket was never there at the beginning. Our original mascot never had a musket. Somehow it morphed. And I think it's because your band leader needed to carry something. We gave him a musket. It was never part of our original banner. The Minutemen were some of the first people to fight in the Revolutionary War for what they believed in, and are no doubt a large part of the reason why you and I are free today is because of the Minutemen. I also want to know if any of you guys have actually gone to Concord High and walked around the campus. It's dirt, weeds, and rocks. You want to spend millions of dollars changing a name, which in no way helps my children learn. Let's have some pride in our school and fix the schools up. I heard another janitor come here and say, we have rats, we have cockroaches. Come to the schools. Look around. It's disgusting. I'm embarrassed. During COVID, I actually called the Mount Diablo School District. The weeds were up to our waist. I'm like, come fix our schools. So let's not spend money on something frivolous. The Minutemen, you should be proud to be a Minuteman. On top of that, there was a petition that went around. We had over 4,000 signatures, 4,000. As someone else said, we had 191 people vote. 191. We have 4,000 saying keep the Minutemen. So let's weigh that out and think about it. I want you all to go to Concord High and look around and tell me where that money should be spent. It shouldn't be spent on changing a name. It should be spent on beautifying our schools and making us proud to be a Minuteman. Thanks.
I now get to introduce some former students and current students to speak to you. Max?
Hi, my name is Maximus Dashner. I am an 8th grader, and I would be proud to be a Minuteman. The reason why being a Minuteman is so important to me is because my big brother, my big sister, my mom, my dad, all my aunts, all my uncles, they were all Minutemen. I just think Minutemen is just such a cool thing, and I've been the ball boy for the football team since I was in 3rd grade. Always went to all the games, and I just think it's awesome. That's why I would love to be a Minuteman. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rachel Lloyd. I was asked if I wanted to come here and speak on behalf of a student's perspective. I graduated class of 2022. I went to Concord High through COVID and was at Concord High through the first initial thought and announcement of changing the mascot. I played varsity soccer for 4 years. I was in ladies first for 4 years, show choir for 3 years. I played volleyball, and I also co-founded the Concord High a cappella group called Anonymous. When I was a senior, the first announcement of changing the mascot was initiated. And from what I remember, students were not happy. We were in advisory when teachers announced it. There was a survey that the students had us take choosing which mascot we'd rather have. Minutemen was not on the survey. Students didn't have a choice, nor did we have an option to pick Minutemen and disagree as students. I remember countless conversations I've had with peers talking about how unnecessary and unfair it was for teachers to drop this random information on us without asking for the student's opinion. Throughout the year, the longer the talk of changing the mascot went on, the more we started to question whether or not the teachers were doing it for us or for themselves. A lot of money would go into rebranding the mascot alone, right? So that means a lot more money would have to go into supporting that change, like remodeling the marquee in front of the school to take the Minutemen off along with the musket, the scoreboard on the football field, baseball field, softball field. You'd also have to make a change to all the sweatshirts, shirts, pants, lanyards, wristbands, pins, and the rest of the Minutemen merchandise. New sports teams uniforms, as well as disposing the Minutemen band uniforms and buying brand new uniforms. That's a lot of money. But what stands out the most about spending all this money on the new mascot is the fact that the money isn't being spent on making the kids feel more safe at school. I could think of many different things that the money should be spent on other than a new mascot. Installing restrooms on the field for our guests and athletes, getting a police on campus to make the students feel safer in case of an emergency, a pathway to the baseball and softball fields that isn't through tall, dead grass and gopher holes, a more diverse selection of language classes, and putting a sound system on the football field for sporting events in case of an emergency so we can alert everyone that could be affected. In other words, what if there's an active shooter on campus during one of the sporting events? How do we alert the hundreds of people on both sides and all around the field to get to safety? But that's not being talked about. It's so surprising that the first priority is not the student safety, it's changing the mascot. There were 51 school shootings in 2022. I'm sure the district board and the parents would appreciate to know that during the 2021 to 22 school year, not once did we practice an intruder drill, nor did we talk about what would happen if there was an active shooter or a person of danger on campus. Instead, the main topic was changing the mascot. While we're sitting here in a meeting preaching about spending millions of dollars on a new mascot, there are students sitting in a classroom planning their every move to escape in case there was an active intruder or shooter on campus. I was one of those students. If the students were the main priority, you'd be more worried about their safety than the school mascot. If the students were the main priority, we would have had a choice to change the mascot or not to change it for that matter. If you think it's the student's choice to change the mascot, you're wrong. The surveys that the students took never had a choice to pick Minutemen on them. Nobody gave the students a choice. Why wasn't Minutemen on the surveys as an option? Is it because the teachers are afraid of it actually getting the majority vote? Because in that case, I dare for another survey to be sent out to the students with Minutemen as a choice. Let's genuinely let the students have a choice for once. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Benjamin Valdez. I'm a former student of.
Can you speak a little closer to the microphone?
Sorry. Hello, is that better? Okay. Hello, my name is Benjamin Valdez. I'm a former student of Concord High, and I've been asked if I wanted to speak in regard to changing the mascot. While school mascots are important to create a sense of community and identity, I believe that school districts should prioritize more pressing issues. For example, focusing on safety of students, providing adequate resources for teachers should be one of the main priorities. While having a school mascot can be fun for students, it should not be the main concern of the school districts. Instead, the school districts should focus on creating an inclusive and welcoming environment for all students, regardless of their background or interest, by addressing these more important issues. The district can help students succeed academically and socially, which will have and greater impact on their future success. So while school mascots are important, they should not be the main priority for school districts. And as a member of the LGBTQ+ community, I understand that some people may feel uncomfortable with certain mascots and symbols that are associated with groups that have history of discrimination or oppression. However, I believe that the mascot Minutemen does not affect me as a person or my identity as a member of this community. While the Minutemen may have historical connotations that some people may find problematic, I do not believe that this mascot itself is inherently discriminatory or harmful. As long as the school district is committed to creating an inclusive and welcoming environment for all students, regardless of their background or identity, then the mascot should not be a major concern. At the end of the day, what matters most is how we treat each other as individuals, not as symbols or mascots that represent us. So while I understand that some people may have concerns about the Minutemen mascot, I personally do not feel that it affects me or my identity as a member of the LGBTQ+ community. Thank you.
So I think we've established, you've been led to believe that many of the students do not have connection with the 57-year-old Concord High Minuteman mascot. This is simply not true. To us, the Minuteman community, this whole process felt secretive. Some of this may be due to COVID, the COVID restrictions, but regardless of intentional or unintentional, we, the community of parents and students, felt left out by the whole process. We were unrepresented and even disrespected. When we questioned it and we were told it was over and we were treated like villains for being against it. And I'm not speaking about Principal McKinnon. She seems to genuinely care. And she got left holding the bag. And I actually feel really bad for her. Since I personally go back to 2005 at CHS, I think it's important for you to know some history. We are a middle-class school, and it seems not poor enough to be important, but not rich enough to raise money to make improvements ourselves. Traditionally, Concord High has been the last school for all improvements by the district, usually behind other schools by many years. We always seem to get middled out. CHS was the last school to get field lights, and the parents had to fight for it. It was the last school to get an all-weather field for soccer, lacrosse, and football, and the all-weather track. And although we asked for a field house with a snack shack and bathrooms, like all other schools have, we get 2 porta potties in a mud parking lot with no lights. We asked for a safety public address system like all other schools have for years. We never received that one. I'm very close to this since for 12 years, I provided at my own expense the sound system that was used on the football field. We were the last to get the marquee in front of the school. Unfortunately, with an Internet Minutemen clip art logo with a musket, this logo has never been used by the school before. We've also been told many times we're getting a swimming pool for our swimming programs. I've heard that in person from 2 different superintendents. I personally helped found the United Mount Diablo Athletic Foundation, which raised $6 million over 4 years to support all athletics at the 6 high schools after the school board removed all funding. Soon after that, we lost Clayton Valley to charter. I tell you all this so you better understand our parents. We're an involved, passionate community group and had to organize and struggle and fight for everything this school and its students we thought they deserved. This is why we all identify as Minutemen so well. So in closing, I asked the representative governing board, in light on how bad the alumni and the community will react to this rebranding and its staggering financial aspects, to rescind the blanket resolution, allow us to make modifications to the current mascot for your approval. Or if it's really about the students, allow the students to vote fairly and openly without the administration steering it for either the Bears or the Minutemen, and let them have the final decision. Thank you.
Thank you. There are 5 public comments. So this is what I'm asking, because we did let your presentation go for as long as you needed. And the 5 public comments, I'm guessing, are going to say similar things. So I encourage you, I'm going to call your names, and I encourage you, though, that if you have anything new to add that. So not to remake the new points. We're still going to give you the 3 minutes, but I'm really trying to encourage you to take fewer than 3 minutes if you can, by bringing up new issues or just saying your name and that you're in full support of everything that's been said. So Janice Cameron is first.
Of course. I would have raised this somewhat. This presentation was excellent. And said it all, really. I'm a 1976 graduate of Concord High School during our bicentennial year. Thank you. And I just want you to know how very proud we all were to be so involved in that year. The band was in high demand at all the parades, but that was back when it was in fashion to be patriotic and have pride to be an American. Nowadays, that display of patriotism is rarely seen, and it is equated usually with an extreme far-right experience. On the Nextdoor app today, this meeting was being discussed. Many options were shared. I was saddened to hear from a fellow Concord High graduate of 2018 who did not know where the term Minutemen came from or what it meant. She stated she was never taught about this time in history. Wow. This was very disturbing. I told her about the Minutemen and that she should be proud of the mascot. I feel she and I educated each other today. I see no reason to change this mascot. I do see a reason to educate the students about the history and not try to erase it.
Sue Choate Breeze or Bryce, I apologize for butchering your name.
Good evening. I am a graduate of Concord High, 1969. Still standing too. So what I'd like to say is I remember we voted when we first came to Concord High for the mascot. And I also served as a majorette one year. I still have my uniform, can't get in it, but I still have it. And we were proud. And back then all I can say is the way the world has gone, everything's different now. You know, we weren't scared when we went to school. We were proud. We were happy to be there. The curriculum and the history, all these years, 50 plus years, it is turned into, and what I'm hearing tonight, a lot about safety. These are the issues that really should be addressed. We weren't scared when we went to school. We had everything we needed, and we learned history. We understood history. And it seems to me, this is kind of erasing part of what made Concord High great back then. The way the world is now, we never had to worry about drugs or anything like that. Recently, I lost my son to fentanyl. Educate. We need to save our kids. And I thank you very much for the time. Take care.
Thank you. Matt Taylor. Thank you. Thank you. Maximus Dashner. Lynette Dashner. Oh, okay, great. Then you could have taken your time. Thank you, because you already did. Any comments or questions?
As far as I understand it, the board did not bring this up. Is that correct? It was brought to us after what happened with Ignacia Valley. They went through and when Ignacia Valley did theirs, we were just, at least me, very cognizant. I wanted the school to make this decision, not us. So the kids at Ignacia Valley went through a process. They came to us, they expelled out the process, and it went from there. So I don't view this any differently. For me, my understanding, it was not started here. It was started by someone at the school, not important who. And I would expect it to go through the same process and then for the students to bring it to us and with their outcome. So that's where I stand. I don't know where the rest of the board stands.
On the, okay, on, to that, actually, I think we're getting a, he said, she said, or mom said this, dad said this. Oh, sorry. Regarding that, I think we're kind of getting a he said, she said, mom said this, dad said this, because what we hear from some of the staff at Concord High is the board mandated this. And then what I hear from the board is, no, CHS brought this to us. The students wanted it. So a little bit of a conflict there. So
we do have another presentation coming up, right? So the next group will have to explain to us what that process was and how it was administered before we make any decision.
Yeah, that's what we were explained to by the administration there, and many of them that didn't even support this change. So we think it came from the principal that is now gone. But I don't think it had the whole backing that she claimed it did.
nor the transparency.
And we talked to the administration and they go, hey, we can't do anything about it. Go talk to the board. So that's why we're here.
Okay, well, it sounds
Anyway,
like a
thank you very
process
much.
issue and we'll bring it up with them when they come.
Thank you so
Thank you
much
so
for your
much.
time. We really do appreciate it.
Any other questions or comments? You-
Okay, yeah.
Our
All-
meetings are
all of
our meetings are
public.
agendized and public, so there's nothing that would keep you from coming. It just is. No, our agendas come out on the Friday before each meeting, and so even we don't know what's on the agenda until we receive it on Friday before the following Wednesday. So you would have that much notice, how many of the days that is? Friday to Wednesday, that much notice of what's coming. So we have agendas for the rest of the school year. We have 3 more meetings, 1 in May and 2 in June, if it happens in this school year. I think trustee Mason knows that that has been requested to be on the agenda. She does not know when it's going to be on the agenda. I don't know if is it normal that we like take hands from the audience or what do we do? Yeah. So this is the first I heard. Deborah, I have no idea. Sorry.
I'm going to stop this. I'm going to stop this right here. So, so again, I reached out to this group, my staff reached out to this group and said that you wanted to come in and do a formal presentation. You've done a formal presentation. I've asked the administrator from Concord High to come and do a similar presentation. So that will be coming up shortly. It more than likely is going to be at our next meeting. I'm trying to get it on the agenda as quickly as possible. Okay. So thank you all for coming. We have a break. We're going to be here all night. And if you don't leave now, you're going to have to stay with us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can keep on going so we can keep this meeting going so we too can go home. Keep on going.
2 minutes. We're going.
I looked in my yearbook, but we only have Spartans in it.
All right. Sorry. Board member reports 13.1. Trustee Nava Flores has volunteered to go first.
Thank you.
I know you had an active week.
So, as we are finishing up the school year, just really want to reflect on what's have been happening lately, recent events, recent meetings, but also just reflecting back on our goals here as a school district. And as we continue to pass policies to create and diversify new curriculum, we must ensure that we are, of course, doing this in the aspect of ensuring the success of all of our students and making sure that the words that are being said are taken into action. With all the programs that have been implemented to help support our social and emotional learning, to recognizing all the students' talents from athletic sports, art, and digital media, to implementing sustainable and diversifying learning expanding programs to help connect our students and unite our students, to graduate our students for success in college and career prepared. We must, of course, continue to do all of this amazing and powerful work in a lens of equity, inclusion, and educational justice. I want to recognize that the second annual MDUSD Art and Digital Media Exhibition was at the Sun Valley Shopping Center earlier last week on Monday. I also want to announce that I met with Jennifer Sachs about the LCAP and are looking into gaining student input and how we are taking accountability with the LCAP goals and how we can improve on them. So some of that talk is what's working right now. What do students appreciate? What do they enjoy? And what helps students learn according to their needs? Increasing student achievement. How can we help students be more successful and want to come to school every day? And by changing the school climate, how can we create a safer and more welcoming learning environment at all of our schools where our students can feel seen and recognized? I also want to announce that I attended Pride Prom last Saturday, and it was, like many students shared, a space where we felt accepted and we were encouraged to be ourselves unapologetically. I want to recognize all the hard work that went into this event and all the cross volunteer work and all the cross communication from our school district to the other schools and Coronel De La Salle, Clayton Valley Charter School, and also just parents and students being involved. Want to then mention to you all how the student board member interviews went. So of course we had the student advisory committee interview our candidates. And what I really appreciate and loved about this year is that every single student had something new to say, something different to say. And if it was related, they brought a whole new different aspect and perspective. And when asked what solutions can they come up with, it was creative, it was innovative, and it was realistic to what we need right now. And I just want to announce right here in front of everyone that I am very, very proud of all of our student leaders, all of the students that are wanting to continue the work and ensuring educational justice and equity for all of our students. It was things from the way that we interact as students, the systemic changes that need to be brought in with addressing the amount of racism and discrimination, but also the moving to more inclusive and representation and moving into adapting new ways of being amongst each other and creating that unity. So I am really, really hopeful of our future. I'm really hopeful and so proud of every single one of our students that was there, but also just our students from all of our school district. There was a bike rodeo at Riverview Middle School that Saturday, April 22nd. And I wasn't able to attend, but when I went to the grocery store, of course, like everyone's out, and I was able to see a student recognize their Rio Vista Elementary School shirt. And I said, hey, I used to go there. And they're just telling me like what they think about the school and how passionate students are to speak truth, to speak reality, but also come up with solutions. So I want to just again reflect on that student activism and student voice and how important it is to sustain that, to support that, and to nourish that, to provide our students the resources to navigate through our system and seek the change that we need. That being said, we had a voter registration. Some members from the Contra Costa County came to Mount Diablo yesterday. And the reason why I bring this up is because, again, when we provide our students resources and knowledge to how to navigate through the system, in this case, the local and government system, we get to get our students involved in decision making and voicing and providing that perspective and making sure that we are being included, and also those that are being excluded from the table and from the talk are being present. So again, like with voter registration, reflecting on how our vote does matter and how our vote does change, and it reflects on our past, our present, and our future generations. So again, like as we get ready to end off the year strong, it's really important to just reflect back on the cause and why we are all here. And it's for our students. And I will continue to devote myself in creating a more equitable system for our students' success and support, and do my best to voice for my community, for the majority and for the minority, and advocate for all, and provide a continuous safe space to speak up and to be heard and demand change in the school, in the classroom, and in the district. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Trustee Cond.
All right, thank you, Trustee Nava Flores. You're always so inspirational, and we learn so much by having a student board member here at the dais participating with us, and what you're saying about the importance of student voice. I really appreciate that. Thank you. I'll keep my board report brief. Was able to attend some wonderful events, including out at El Monte Elementary. There's a developer of housing that's right next door to the school. That is a wonderful show of support of the school, that they presented a check for a brand new sound system for the school to have. And that's also a potential place of housing for families and teachers in the area. So it's great to be able to see that support from the community. I got to attend the Rossmore 27th Annual Generations in Jazz. I don't know if you know this exists, but it's pretty fantastic. They have a jazz band that is ages 12 to 86, all that play together. And it's students from all over. There were students from, from close in to Rossmore, like Las Lomas and some of the Walnut Creek schools, Northgate, but also there were students from some of our other Mount Diablo schools too. I know there was a Concord High, and I believe College Park as well. And it was just a beautiful, beautiful thing to see. Love the support that they give to all our musicians. And similarly, on Saturday, Stanford University had a Girls in Jazz Day, and this was a free workshop for middle and high school girls who play in jazz bands. And there was the Berkeley High music director was there and was one of the people who led it. And she said that they also host similar things to this at Berkeley High. So that would be closer for some of our students that might want to go to look out for those in the future. And then I also got to attend the Walnut Acres Elementary International Fair. And this is something that's been going on for the last couple of years, was started by a parent who felt that there should be, there should be more awareness about the world, more inclusive feel to families that come to this school. And it grows every year from something very small to a really whole community-wide event. I think next year it might be citywide. It was fantastic because it was so educational. People had different booths with maps and language and food and interactive exhibits. And there were performances, and it was just all led by parents and families and community. It was fantastic. Love to see that. I also attended a meeting today of the Contra Costa County Gun Violence Prevention Coalition. And so that continues to move forward. It's funded by the U.S. Department of Justice and is run by Contra Costa County. One of the things that they've talked about is that the leading cause of death of adolescents under 18 since 2020 has been firearms, more so than even car accidents. So hopefully with, it's something that we're concerned about in our schools, but the boundaries of our schools to the community, you can't just stop something like this with a fence. These types of violent incidents can happen anywhere. And so it takes all of us together. So I just want to thank our Northgate staff, administration, everyone who was involved yesterday in making sure that our students were safe. Our district leadership, Dr. Clark, responded very quickly to be able to inform the whole community about what was happening. Our police were on site there right away, our emergency personnel. Some of the things that we have created over the last few years, we saw put into action. So the fact that we had a quick communication device, Parent Square, we previously didn't have that, and so I was just so appreciative that when an emergency like this happens, that families are able to be notified right away with accurate information at the school level and at the district level. And thankful that we have been working hard on improving our campus safety plans. And I know there's so much more work that we're doing in the area of safety, and we'll continue to work on that. But for now, I just wanted to really appreciate everyone who's involved in keeping our students safe every single day. Coming up, a couple of things. I'm going to start resuming my meet with the school board for coffee meetups. So my next one is on Thursday, May 4th at 8:45 at Contra Costa Coffee. It's May 4th, so Star Wars gear is welcome. And I have my ticket to the Medea Awards of Excellence, May 11th, and I want to congratulate all the nominees and look forward to seeing you all there.
Trustee McFerrin.
All right. So last Tuesday, I went to the PAC meeting and we discussed some in-progress bylaws, and also parents were able to give some feedback on the LCAP. We also heard a little bit of information about class sizes and about staffing and how those decisions and projections and how those decisions were made. It was really comprehensive and interesting to hear about. There was kind of a little bit of discussion and interest among the parents about smaller class sizes. And then I also went to the ABAR committee meeting last Wednesday, and the highlight for me really was the share out from Cambridge Elementary about the kind of the equity work that they've been doing there. They talked at length about a book club that they started with, and then they also talked about they talked really a lot about kind of this idea of the warm demander, which is an idea that I started hearing about probably 10 years ago, which is really has to do with having high expectations for your students and showing them that you care, and doing those things together. So I really appreciated that, and just really interested to kind of see that spread to some of our other school sites who are interested. So it just seems like a great model. And I need to swing by Sun Valley Mall. I missed the kickoff for that event. I was at a training that is optional in my district that really has to do with like racial equity training. And so that was really valuable. And I am happy to talk about that experience with anyone who's interested. And that is all I have this evening.
Trustee Mayo.
Last night I had the opportunity to spend some great time with the CAC Special Education Legislation Action Committee. The committee members reviewed at least 12 bills that they wish to discuss with legislators on May 3rd when we go to Sacramento. I attended the Mount Diablo Business Education Alliance, and this time, instead of breaking into what did we call them? Particular subject matter groups. The groups were blended so that we had police department, engineers, and of course, teachers, and then someone from Rotary in my group this time to talk about what has been working with the Education Alliance meetings and what folks would like to see improved. I attended the Parent Advisory Committee on the 18th, and we had the good fortune to attend the Teacher of the Year finalist announcements with the Contra Costa County Office of Education at Olympic High School for Danya Townsend and for Joseph Alberico at Diablo Valley College. We had to hunt him down because he was on a field trip, and so we were able to work it out so that they could make all of the announcements on that particular day, which was April 17th. And then on April 13th, I went to Strandwood Elementary School with Dr. Clark, and he presented to the packed house there at the school site. My last 5 days, I have been busy with 750 of my best friends at the California State PTA Annual Conference that was held in Sacramento. We had 49 workshops on leadership, as well as specific topics that are current in the news today around education and the condition of students. There was an election for officers. 3 of 9 officers were contested, so we spent 5 hours voting on Saturday morning and counting ballots, but that worked out well. We also approved legislation policy amendments and bylaws amendments. If you know anything about PTA, we use resolutions to determine the positions of the organization. Those resolutions are adopted by convention members at convention, and they determine the basis for the advocacy by our volunteer advocates in Sacramento and throughout the state by local PTAs. So we adopted 4 resolutions. They're written in various areas of the state by volunteers. They go through a screening process for each whereas. They have to have 3 non-circular pieces of evidence. So when we present to the legislators, there is factual information that's documented that we can present to legislators when we take a position on bills. So the 4, one of which is a particular interest to our dyslexic subcommittee, is the equitable literacy for all students. The second was inclusive education for students with cognitive disabilities. The third one was synthetic and tobacco-free nicotine products, and I know you're very involved in that, Mrs. Cound. And then aid to survivors and victims of sexual violence and their families. These were adopted. Some of them were amended slightly, and then they were adopted unanimously by the convention delegates that were there. So it was a great exciting conference, and none of you would have known anything about all the hiccups that may have happened behind the scenes, and everyone arrived home safely. So, thank you very much.
Trustee Mason.
Okay, I went to Rio Vista and had coffee with the parents of the principal again, as I do each month. I was at Sun Valley for the art program they had for all the schools, which they had a very good turnout. I was at the Parent Advisory Committee and got to hear Ms. Sachs for the first time talk about LCAP and get parent input. And then I got to go to the DLAC meeting and hear for the next time, give input about the LCAP and get it from our parents. I went to El Monte for the, I got to see the first act of the Aladdin program after they got the equipment from the developer that was developing right next to them. I went over to Monty Gardens for the unveiling of the new mural. And it's based on student art from the kids over there. It's a beautiful mural. It has a quote on it that I just love that says, "In a world where you can be anything, be kind." So I really like that. That really resonated with me. I went to the DLAC meeting, the ABAR meeting. I met with Federal Glover and Grayson's office about issues that affect our schools, which hopefully we'll be hearing more about that in the future. I went to the counselors meeting with the Hispanic parents at Shore Acres, and that was very well attended. And I would thank Dr. Stuckey Smith for being there to make sure we got in. There was a little confusion there, but I appreciated her coming out on a Saturday morning. And I was there for a little over an hour and then went across the street to the bike rodeo, where the Sheriff's Department and Keller Mitigation gave away 200 bikes again to students out in Bay Point, in the Bay Point community. It was a little smaller this year, but I'm going to work with the sheriffs to get it a little bigger next year. And then I went to the Mount Diablo business meeting that was a serendipity on Monday. And then I attended via Zoom, a Healthy and Active Before 5 meeting that I've been going to for years. And they're really focusing on climate and open space right now. It's a busy time of year.
Thank you so much. I want to just congratulate Trustee Nava Flores on the process that you led in going towards choosing our next student trustee. My daughter has been on the Student Advisory Council since I got Kalina to finagle her on it. And so, but she's taken the job very seriously. So she was very just to describe what they did on Monday night, like from after school until nighttime, they were interviewing students and so Adora was just very busy. She was just very busy all afternoon and into the evening and into your discussions, and she really appreciated the process. And it was just so organized and thoughtful, and it feels like you got what you needed from each of the candidates. So thank you for that. And then I attended the ABAR meeting, and what you only slightly mentioned was amazing to me was the presentation from Cambridge and the process that community has gone through over the last 5 years. They're doing the things and being the way we would hope all of our schools, communities would be, the teachers and staff, around equity and anti-racism. And this journey that they've taken was painful and slow, but it's getting them to where they need to be and where we need all of our schools to be. So in fact, I don't want it to be like, if anyone else wants to do it, I want everybody to have to do it, honestly, because as we create these environments and this culture within our district, it'll attract the right people who are in it, who agree with that and want to be as inclusive as possible and affirming and welcoming of all students and families. And then the people for whom that is not their priority, then this isn't the right place for them. And as we spread that across our district, I feel like it would change, it would be a game changer for every one of our students. And in fact, every one of our teachers and staff and volunteers and parents. It would be a true game changer. So I really appreciated hearing about it, and I just want to make it district-wide mandated. Yes, I want to tell people what to do. I don't want to option, but that's because I'm a lefty radical. Dr. Clark.
Well, I have a very
for his or for ours? For his? Okay. Oh, okay, you go right ahead. Give your presentation. I'm sorry.
So I just have a short presentation. I want to revisit our LCAP goals And the reason why we talk so much about our LCAP goals is because as a district, we don't necessarily have at least with this board and as me as superintendent, we haven't really come up with sort of this is our mission, vision and whatnot. And with so much going on, we've really been focusing our efforts on the LCAP. And so, so again, I just want to continue to remind, our community, our staff, our students, when they question why we are doing certain things, you need to look at our LCAP, and it's really within the goals of all that we do. And it is clear from our goals that we put our students at the highest priority. And what I'm going to say about our students is that our students are a product of our communities, and our schools are a product of our communities. And so when great things happen in our communities, great things happen in our schools. And when we have challenges in our communities, we have challenges in our schools. And schools are a reflection of society. And in our society, we have great accomplishments. And if you read our Friday letter every Friday, you will read more than enough of good news about great things that are happening within our district. Actually, there are too many great things happening in our district for us to capture them all in that publication. And so our employees out at the school sites do a good job at amplifying the things that are happening at their schools, and are sharing the accomplishments of colleagues and of students. And I could just go on and on and on about the accomplishments that are taking place within our district, and the triumphs and wins that folks are meeting each and every day. But on the flip side of that, also the challenges from our communities and from our society play themselves out in our schools. We have more challenges with mental health. We have more challenges with students performing below grade level and not really achieving in literacy. We have more challenges of students not knowing how to adequately work through conflict or failure or disappointment. And so those things play out. And when they do play out, we have to respond. And I just want to take a minute and acknowledge the response that the adults in this district take when our students are in need. And I think that that's really, it plays itself out all the time. And I've shared with you all the incident reports that we receive, whether it's a accident with one of our buses, or whether it's if it's a student having a medical emergency, or whether it's a student having a mental health emergency, or whether it's a physical conflict that takes place. And we have adults that step up. And over the last couple of weeks, we had a middle school student in our district who had a terrible accident, and is going to be dealing with challenges for some time. And when that student returns to school, I know that the adults on that campus will embrace that student and really help that student through. Obviously, we had an incident at Northgate High School yesterday. Very unfortunate incident, but again, the students, the staff, the community, really came together and did the best they can to ensure that folks were safe, and that the issues that were challenging got addressed. And so I really can't tip my hat enough. And I also want to acknowledge the law enforcement agencies that we have from Concord, Walnut Creek, Pleasant Hill, Clayton, who am I missing? Walnut, Pleasant Hill, Martinez. So just Contra Costa County Sheriff's Department, because we do need to call on their support often for stranger danger, for students having emergencies and whatnot. And during my time here, all of them have been responsive and have been true partners. And especially when it comes to providing training for our staff or for our communities, they are on the front lines, open and willing to do that. And so just really wanted to highlight that. And then as we're entering into May, and I know that we're all surprised that May is here so quick. You know, we are knee deep into testing, into state testing. Our advanced placement tests are taking place. We have you know, seniors who are finishing up you know, senior projects. I had a fantastic interview with a Northgate student the other day for about 45 minutes on school funding. And I mean, you know, the questions that this student was, you know, throwing my way, and the dialogue that we were having was just so impressive. And of course, our younger students will be promoting up, and it's just an exciting time. But it's also a time that there's a lot of uncertainty. We have students who may be nervous about entering into middle school students who are nervous about entering into high school, and we have those high school students who are nervous about entering into the adult world. And whether that be college or whether that be a career, it's still a nerve-wracking time. And so I'm just asking that you know, that we show a bit of grace during that time and really help our students transition to the next level, because it's not easy for any of them. And then lastly, as I close, you know, just really want to acknowledge the hard work of our administrators, of our teachers, of our classified staff. And I can go down the list of our classified folks. Today, as you know, is Administrative Assistance Day. And so whether, you know, I don't know all the categories that we call folks who work in the office, but those folks who work in the offices, all of our offices, there are number one, like just front line of everything. They're your PR, they're your first aid, they're your tour guide, they're the law. You know, they hold things together, and just really want to acknowledge them on this day. So more to come. We're getting ready. Myself and the board will be getting ready to do the graduation tours, and we know that that's always such an exciting time. It can be sad at times because, you know, kids are leaving us and whatnot, but very excited for you know, how this year is winding down. But, you know, I do want to acknowledge the challenges that we have out there and whatnot, but we can't let those challenges get in the way of our celebrations and the many, many, many accomplishments that our folks have been achieving and our students have been achieving. And just on the last note, we're super excited to get the news from Mount Diablo High today. One of their students got a full ride scholarship to the school of their choice, and that student, Dr. Stuckey Smith, is going to be super excited in the back because that student is going to be attending USC on a full scholarship, and that's right out of Mount Diablo High School, and just so proud of that particular student and their accomplishment. So that concludes my report, and
I guess I'll forgive them. I did not know Dr. Stuckey Smith went to USC. We have one public comment of Anita Johnson. Okay. Then we are to the consent agenda 15.0. Yeah, approval of items under consent agenda. Is there anything that anyone would like to remove to consider separately?
I would like to pull item 15.6, review and potential approval of MDUSD K-12 secondary strengthening career and technical education for the 21st Century Act grant for 2023 to 2024.
All right. That was 15.6. Can I get a motion on the rest of the consent?
Madam President, I move the board approve the consent agenda with the exception of 15.6, which will be considered separately.
I'll second that.
Trustee Nava Flores,
Yes.
the consent items pass. And we will go to, I think it becomes 16.1.
So just for community clarification and also student clarification with what we've have heard recently within the public, and also concerns from our teachers and our staff, But again, most importantly, our students. Could we get a clarification and a clear understanding of what the CTE grant does for our schools and how this impacts students?
You got to be more specific. I'm sorry.
What exactly how does this grant help fund our CTE courses from our K through 12?
Well, the Carl Perkins, this used to previously be the Carl Perkins grant. And so what it specifically does is it buys equipment for career technical education. And that equipment can only be used within the CTE course that it's that it's purchased for. It also provides for outside experiences outside of the school. So it may cover field trips, may cover bringing in speakers or other experiences for students. It really all depends on what the actual course is. So you may have a course that is doing automotive things, like over at, I don't know, Concord High has automotive, or it may do automotive, or it may be food for the cooking program, or medical supplies for the medical program, or robotics for robotics. But it all depends on the career technical education course. And so these are funds that will help strengthen those. So it's additional funds that we are applying for.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Would you like to make a motion?
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion for the review and potential approval of the MDUSD K through 12 Secondary Strengthening Career and Technical Education for the 21st Century Act grant for 2023 to 2024.
Second.
Trustee Nava Flores.
Yes.
And that passes. Can I ask a clarifying question around the consent and the process?
Yeah.
If we just have a question, does it have to be pulled before we vote? Or can we ask a question and then continue unless we want to pull it? Can we ask a question before it's pulled?
Yes, you can.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just I thought so.
Yeah, but
So
just what you don't want to have is an ongoing discussion and back
right.
and forth.
But a clarifying
clarifying
question
question,
could be
absolutely.
asked without it being pulled, and then we could just go on with the process, or you could choose to pull it
Yeah.
if you didn't want to vote for it. Okay, thank you. On to business items. Yay, everybody, all our friends are here. 18.1, review and potential approval of standards aligned history, social science materials for middle school history and social science instruction.
Oh, we have Ms. Sachs is going to introduce this crew, and yeah, I'm going to introduce this item.
Absolutely. We are incredibly proud to have our curriculum specialists here who have been working diligently in order to update all of our board adopted materials over the next couple of years. It's a massive feat, and it's actually something that I really want to recognize the Board of Education for your support. It's been a very, very long time coming. Our history materials, it's just embarrassing. The information that has been in there that is not represented in there. And so we have certainly done quite a bit of work with our community, our teachers, our administrators, our student, and we're just excited to bring this to you this evening. So Susan Hartwig and Megan Gertz, thank you so much for all of your hard work.
We are with our labors of love once again. So tonight, hello, everyone. Tonight, we are the Ed Services team here to go ahead and place the history social science adoption recommendations from our teachers from middle school and high school for review and potential approval. So in the interest of brevity, I'm going to truncate. There's a lot of words on these slides, and I know that all of you are very good readers, so I'm not going to read them all to you. I will truncate and go straight to the pretty one that talks a little bit about the criteria for selection based on the shifts in the framework for history social science. So what you're seeing now and the materials that we're hoping to have approved by the Board of Education are materials that are now aligned with the shifts, which is content, inquiry, literacy, and citizenship. What you'll find is that when you talk about content, the old days, it was more of a, what is it, the mile wide, inch deep approach. And now it's more of a content and a dive into the content. So that is the content piece. The inquiry is a lot of primary sources that you did not have before, and a lot of opportunities for students to really grapple with complex texts. Also, with the literacy piece, these are going to be opportunities through the history, social science lens to access high levels of literacy through the Common Core state standards for reading, writing, speaking, and listening. And then finally, citizenship. This is that application piece that was not there before. So people like you know, somehow got into public, service without having this actually part of the framework. So this is part of the framework now, the citizenship piece where students actually have an opportunity to take everything they learn and apply it in the real world. So we're very excited to talk a little bit about the process that we went through. I know you're all familiar with the process because Megan walked you through it with the science adoption and also the world languages adoption. So I won't go ad nauseum into that. If you do need to review, we would welcome you to read those slides and definitely go through the process. But we are very confident in our process in the sense that we mirrored the protocols to keep it very democratic. So this is our elementary team. Oh, by the way, elementary will be coming to you in our next episode. So we'll see you, what is it, May 10th, May 10th. And so here's our middle school team, and same rules applied. So we just wanted to really make sure that it's not our fingerprints, it's not our opinions. We are merely facilitators of this process. It's our teachers and our public that give us the feedback. And most importantly, the students. We were able to review the student feedback, and it's always very entertaining and just wonderful to hear what students thought about the piloted materials. And then we had, and I want to apologize formally, the high school adoption teams also includes John Brzezinski, and I did not add him, so I will make an amendment to that and make sure that he is acknowledged for the hard work of that team. He's from Concord High. Yeah. So I apologize to the board for that. That's my oversight. So are there any questions? We would leave it in the hands of the board, but also want to open and hold some space for any questions that you might have about the materials or the process.
I just had one question. Do they volunteer to do this, these teachers?
Great question. Yes, this is an opt-in process. According to the Medea contract, we cannot seriously compel anyone to be a part of this process if they aren't able to or don't want to. So it is an opt-in process. We do recruit very aggressively, and we leave the recruitment process open for about a month and contact all of the places where there are gaps in the voice of our across our district. And this is going to be something that we are going to be really, I think, manually attacking to make sure that representation.
Yeah, I saw some gaps as
Oh, we
far
did,
as the
yeah.
Bay Point community being,
Agreed.
that those educators being represented. It might be because they're not interested, but I was just wondering.
And I appreciate you asking that question because we agree, and we're going to go to really great lengths to make sure that as we go forward doing these processes with ELA next year, possibly, and then any other processes going forward, not only will the process be mirrored and democratic, but we also want to have all voices at the table. And if we can't force people, but we can do other things to make sure the recruitment is.
Mrs. Hartwig, so I have actually met with you along with the Student
I know.
Advisory Committee to provide continuous input for how we can diversify our history and social science curriculum. And here in the middle school section, it mentions Spanish materials for dual language at Holbrook. And then additionally here in the high school section, it provides us a list of what adoption materials being met, but also reflecting back with what Trustee Mason said, there are some gaps in the high schools that aren't being represented. And so my question actually is, are we considering teachers from the continuation schools in our adoption team? And how can we recruit more teachers and more staff to be involved into this adoption process, because like I mentioned to you before, it's really important when we're talking about diversifying and changing the narrative and having it being more represented and it being done with honor and with dignity, to have those voices at the table that reflect on that and that are able to speak on that point of view.
We agree with you. We absolutely agree with you. And so we are going to go to lengths to make sure that the recruitment process is bolstered even further. We will tell you that we do go to great lengths as is, but we need to go further. And we will plan on, we plan on doing that. We actually met today and we have some ideas about how to make maybe just because the process is a heavy lift for teachers. Let's just say it. We'll say it loud and clear that these teachers that do this are so dedicated and so wonderfully dedicated to the process and to bringing voice to all of, even for those that were not able to be, a voice at the table. So we want to make sure that that is something that we make maybe more attractive. And Megan and I were working with our ELD department partners, and we were thinking about different ways, like maybe having some time for a full pull-out day for teachers that are on this committee to have a full sub day rather than doing everything after school. Because when we started this process, it was it's always been after school, kind of coming off the tail of COVID and really a shortage of subs. Thank goodness we have more availability of subs so we can coordinate that effort. Make the process a little bit less of a heavy lift, a little more supportive.
I just wanted to ask about when you were making the decision for middle school, the piloting was McGraw-Hill and National Geographic. So what I don't see is sort of a side-by-side here of what, how did they rate those? Was there something missing from National Geographic? Was there an area where McGraw-Hill was better? I know when we've looked at the processes of the time training on how to select, that there is a whole piece where teachers are rating each of those areas, like, does this curriculum meet the needs of our English learner community of students, for example. So I know you don't have like the detail of that in this presentation to show us today, but just big picture, when you were looking at National Geographic versus McGraw-Hill, what were some of the things that stood out to
So
the group?
anecdotally, I can say without having it in front of me, there was National Geographic, the overall feeling was that it was very good at the 8th grade level and not as comprehensive at the 7th and the 6th grade level, which is the world. So you've got world history at 6th grade and world history at 7th grade. And National Geographic was not as comprehensive in that way. And so very good, very beautiful, very robust at the 8th grade level. And in fact, the team even acquiesced and acknowledged that when we saw the vendor presentations, they were of the 8th grade materials. So that could have been, something that played heavily into the group's decision. So does that sort of answer the question? Yes. Any other questions? Those are great questions though, seriously.
And I apologize that I didn't ask this question earlier. Are all of these items that are being ordered 2,000, for example, for one particular document, is this a hardbound textbook, or is it online, or is it a combination of both?
So we're going to be, right now, the negotiation is for textbooks, class sets for every student, or for each classroom, and then digital licensing along with the Chromebook to manage our compliance.
Okay.
The one-to-one compliance. So yes, and then we do have a replenishment of the consumables if teachers would like those and they're something that's useful in the classroom.
And are there parent resources available also?
I can't speak to that right now, but I can definitely find out for you.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Exciting.
Isn't it?
Now
Thank you
I-
for having our back on this. This is really, really great. And thank you to Jennifer Sachs for helping to push these important things through.
So this is an action item.
And while you're doing that, I also want to say thank you to all of these teachers who gave of their time and
Mhm.
talent and expertise, because it is, like I said, a very heavy lift. So they deserve. We had a sparkling water toast at the end. Very, unfun, but better than nothing, right?
So I'll move to approve the standards aligned history, social science materials for middle school history, social science instruction as presented.
Second.
Trustee Nama Flores.
Yes.
Yay for new history and social
Wonderful.
science materials.
Current. I know.
How
isn't
long,
it
how
wonderful?
soon will they be here?
Well, the paper shortage is real. And we've had to manage our own expectations around that. In fact, even during the public viewing, we didn't even have all of the National Geographic materials. So those were hard to actually review for the team. But in most cases, we are hoping by the beginning of the year that, but we, for the hard copy, any of the hard copy tangibles, but we are looking at digital licensing as soon as possible.
18.2, it's you again. Review and potential approval of standards aligned history, social science materials for high school history, social science instruction.
Did you need me to keep talking? Do you have any more questions?
It's basically the same presentation,
Same
right?
presentation.
Yeah.
Everything's the
So,
same.
Yeah. Because it was on the other slides. I mean, it's on the same, the slides are the same.
It's a package deal.
Right.
Different
So-
approvals, but
So I guess I would have
package.
the same question here, though, as you got down to the final two, and there were the ratings and scores of each of these two. What stood out that brought you to the decision that the group ultimately
that the
made?
group made. Yes, not, never, I'm very clear, it was not we are merely the facilitators. So yeah, so the group talked a lot. The high school group was really amazing in their ability to find consensus amongst each other. It's a smaller group, so that's a little bit easier. They were so thoughtful. We had a full plan of how we were going to run the meeting, and it wound up just being a round table with the group of teachers, and they really just had a spirit of consensus. So some of the maybe some of the shortcomings that were felt for TCI were that it was a little bit static in terms of how you could maneuver it, and also the leveled reading. So all of the systems nowadays have some sort of leveled reading, so there's more access. You can have the same themes and the same ideas, but a student that has maybe a lower reading level will still have access to those same ideas on their own, alone reading, right? So Savas had what the teachers were saying was a superior method for that kind of access, amongst other things. But it was that was one of the big ones for TCI. A little bit static, not as easy to maneuver. But that again, that's anecdotally. I don't have that in front. Sorry. So Savas was their decision.
Good. Oh, do you have? Yeah, I'm open to that.
Madam President, I move to approve the standards aligned history, social science materials for high school history, social science instruction.
I'll second that.
Trustee Nava Flores.
Yes.
Yay for high school.
Very exciting. We'll see you on the 10th.
Great.
For elementary.
Yeah, is why.
Which one?
Which and why that
yes.
one? Why that?
You know what?
one?
I'll be ready.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get work.
Apologies for not having prepped you for that ahead of time.
Oh, that's okay. I think, it's important that I think that we trust our teachers and we trust them as practitioners, but those are very legitimate questions. So I appreciate them, and I'll be ready.
Thank you. 18.3, review and potential approval of College Board framework aligned materials for advanced placement courses.
Perfect. So this was a very shortened version of an adoption because we don't control the frameworks. It's controlled by College Board. So this was just an update to the materials. Mainly the huge piece of this was allowing there to be an online platform because most of the textbooks that we have currently don't have an online portion to them. So Teachers in some of these courses, we only have a few teachers that teach them. So our group was very small in some cases. So these are the attachment to this item is just the list of the courses that have new materials and then which publisher they selected. So anyway, that I will leave that with you unless you have any questions. But it's varying numbers of students and courses.
I would make a motion to approve the College Board Framework aligned materials for advanced placement courses.
Second.
Trustee Nava Flores.
Yes.
And we have new aligned materials to the AP
Thank you
courses.
very much.
Thank you. All right.
I would just say, the work that you are doing, must be very collegial, because I recall instances where we had a minority report from the textbook selection committee. So, you're doing good work and building that
dissent.
consensus around this curriculum. So thank you.
All right, we have some board policies. Review and approve revisions to board policies, administrative regulations of all these numbers.
Yes, so as you know, we updated all of our policies. And so we had told the board that we just needed to do the baseline. That was better than what we had previously. And now that we have the baseline, we have some really key policies that need to be updated. And so they're not all fully aligned, right? So you're going to see for Trustee Nava Flores, there's stuff in there about CTE, independent study, TK, and this is coming out of Ms. Sachs's office. So,
Well, actually, this is the California School Board Association that helped us with all those massive revisions. But because it took us a little bit of time to do it, there were changes in ed code and law after we revised them. And so we had to bring these back in order to kind of do some tinkering based, on new and current changes in some rules and regulations. So what Laura and I are trying to do is get us on a calendar that once a quarter, as CSBA sends us, good news, you have board policies and ARs you must revise, that we bring them in batches to the board. So then we don't have the situation where we were trying to do thousands, it felt like thousands of board policies and ARs all at the same time.
I just want to say I appreciate the hard work on this, and many of these are very, very key policies for us to make sure to be updated with the law. Also, I know that in past years, there have been issues with things like the TK, families who have had a child who is been determined on a case-by-case basis, right? Been determined with the parents and the teacher what the best placement for that child is. And our prior board policy was so rigid that it would not allow for a decision like that to be made. And so I really appreciate that now I can read in the board policy, we do have the discussion, the wording about the case-by-case basis and it being able to be determined based on what's the best interest of the child. So, and I know there's other key items in here as well that we're taking care of. So I appreciate that.
Can you share what the process, after the board adopts these changes, what the process is with CSBA to update the public facing documents?
we'll do Sarah No Diversion Act if you want.
Process is now has been designed to be internal. So the editing is done internally to our system. And once it's adopted, I go in and add the adopted date and flip the switch and it becomes law.
Oh, great.
So they gave us the ability to do I'm doing the Sarah No Diversion Act. If no one
Right.
caught that, I expect Aaron to catch that, but shows you my schooling. So we have the ability now to update it. They've given us those sort of editing rights that we can do that, because we've been such a good customer of CSBA and worked really hard with them. So Laura's going to be doing that for her office, so we have control of that.
Great. Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the updated policies and regulations as presented.
Second.
Trustee Nava Flores.
Yes.
And we pass unanimously all these new policies, updated policies. Okay, 18.5, review and potential approval of both Mount Diablo Unified School District Sunshine proposal to engage in conceptual conversations and negotiations, and CST Sunshine proposal to engage in conceptual conversations negotiations regarding the existing 2021-2024 successor contract of the clerical, secretarial, and technical unit.
We have Dr. Rubio to present this item.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Clark. This item is to allow us to engage in some conversations. Although we're not required to be at the table right now with this particular unit, we'd like to have some exploratory conversations around salary and contract changes, and requesting your approval.
Entertain a motion.
Madam President, I move to approve the MDUSD Sunshine proposal to engage in conceptual conversations, negotiations, and CST's Sunshine proposal to engage in conceptual conversations, negotiations regarding the existing 2021 to 2024 successor contract of the clerical, secretarial, and technical unit.
I'll second that.
Trustee Nava Flores.
Yes.
That passes unanimously.
Thank you.
18.6, review and potential approval of the job description for program specialist, foster youth, and homeless youth.
We have Dr. Aguirre who's going to present this item.
Took me a while to get up here. Thank you. So what this is because is we used to have our foster homeless youth department, and then the person who was operating that department left, and they came back into a different role, not as a program, as a social worker, but as an assistant director, assuming different roles. The existing social workers during the course of the pandemic, also their position shifted so much that they were supporting running the wellness centers that have opened up at many of our schools, really leaving nobody focused specifically on our foster and homeless youth. And we know that that's where our greatest attempts for monitoring are. We have been lucky that we've been working with County Office of Education and CCEE for a person this year. However, next year we need to backfill that position ourselves in order to make sure those duties are done.
I appreciate that because I had noticed that and was wondering how they were doing so many things at one time, running the wellness center and all the youth and homeless piece as well. So I appreciate this, and I think it's definitely a need. So I would move to approve the job description and creation of the position as presented.
Second.
Trustee Nava Flores.
Yes.
There you go. That passes unanimously. And finally, 18.7, review and potential approval of the job description for the CSACE program specialist, social emotional learning.
Thank you. And this one is also something that we're requesting for our significantly disproportionate response plan, our CSACE plan. And as you know, we already have in place our program specialist, who is kind of our operations, who oversees that. We have our other program specialist who oversees the academic interventions, literacy and math. And we also have our family outreach coordinator who is working to increase participation with our parents of our African American students. this one rounds out that program we'll be supporting the school sites in expanding their knowledge and implementation of social emotional strategies in order to support our focal scholars within the plan.
I would make a motion to approve the job description and creation of the position as presented.
Second,
Trustee Nava Flores.
Yes.
And we get a new position.
Dr.
Thank you.
Aguirre, will this position be posted?
This position will be posted. I've already sent a message to go to 8 o'clock this morning to ask HR to post it. So yes, hopefully
So
tomorrow.
if there's any folks out there that would like to apply for this position, this is the time.
To either one of those positions now would be good. Tomorrow would be
Tomorrow
better.
morning, yeah. Yeah. Thank you
you for
so
that.
much. All right. Are there any future agenda items anyone would like to bring up now? If not, you bring them up later. With that, we did it. We're adjourned.